It's a Friday fact. Friday, Friday, Friday. It's a Friday fact, yeah.
I've been waiting all week for this.
A new fact every Friday. It's a Friday fact.
Logic apps never cease to surprise us with new features and different behaviors between the consumption and standard tiers. Did you know that when you do an HTTP call inside Logic app consumption by default, a few internal default HTTP headers are added to your HTTP request? And some of those headers contain sensitive information that shouldn't be transmitted to external systems, like our Azure Subscription ID and our resource group name. It turns out it's also a bit different for consumption versus standard tiers. Consumption has more headers, and that contains more sensitive information. But the standard request, luckily for us, doesn't include those headers. That is a nice improvement made by the LA team, which will make our processes/solutions safer. Let's see this in more detail. To emulate these behaviors, let's create two Logic apps consumptions. A simple Logic app with request-response actions, and another Logic app that calls through the HTTP connector is the first Logic app. Now, let's replicate those two Logic apps in the standard tier by creating two stateful workflows with the same logic. If we test the Logic app consumption and check the raw outputs of when an HTTP request is received trigger, we will see that several headers start with XMS workflow-**, and some contain information we shouldn't share with external systems, the most critical being the subscription ID. But we share the subscription ID, so we can also consider the following ones sensitive: resource group name, workflow ID and system ID, execute location, and the run ID. Doing the same exercise with the Logic app standard, we will notice that neither the subscription ID nor the resource group are shared by default. So, there is nothing critical or sensitive shared on those calls. I hope you find this Friday fact interesting and see next Friday for another Friday fact.